Democrats are in complete disarray all over the nation. They are not united. They're extremely divided, especially knowing that Kamala Harris will replace Joe Biden. And it doesn't help that your former president, Barack Obama, doesn't endorse Kamala Harris at all. I wanted to go ahead and read this statement to prove what I'm talking about. So Barack Obama says this: "We will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges." So basically, this is him dissing Kamala Harris. "I believe that Joe Biden's vision of a generous, prosperous, and united America that provides opportunity for everyone will be on full display at the Democratic Convention in August. And I expect that every one of us are prepared to carry that message of hope and progress forward into November and beyond." Now, people are outraged. Everyone is outraged. Roland Martin is outraged. But there is one person who has some faith in President Joe Biden, and it's coming from a common source. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson woke up on X, formerly known as Twitter, and he posted this. So Brandon Johnson issues a statement on X, statement from Mayor Brandon Johnson on President Biden's announcement. President Biden united the country by defeating Donald Trump in 2020, and Chicago is grateful for his leadership and service. Today, President Biden cemented his legacy as the rare leader who puts the people above himself. It is vital for our entire party to come together and support Vice President Kamala Harris. I am proud to give her my full endorsement. Vice President is the visionary leader that we need now to defeat the threat of another Trump presidency. She has proven herself as a fearless defender of our democracy. I look forward to doing everything I can to ensure she becomes our next president. Now, he was getting cooked actually in the comments by people who are displeased with his efforts as mayor. Quick response, but nothing when people are getting murdered in the streets of Chicago. Wow. "You can't even master local," Joshua Owen says. "Please don't speak on national things. It's embarrassing." Lisette, one loser endorsing another loser. Show and I Am My Ancestors says you need to be worried about your job. Magic Lady Flawless says you on your way out too. Now the commentary that you saw there from people on X was not nice. Brandon Johnson is a joke of a mayor, and Brandon Johnson is looking forward to supporting Kamala Harris through the Democratic National Convention, which will happen in Chicago in August. But there are a few issues here. First of all, Brandon Johnson is being blamed for the migrant crisis, just like New York Mayor Eric Adams. Now, okay, yes, they're both being blamed, and both mayors are silly and incompetent at best. But it's not their issue, to be honest. They didn't start the migration problems themselves. Who started the migration problem?
Your first 100 days as president, what will you do to create a pathway to citizenship for many undocumented immigrants? That is a big issue for the AAPI community. As you know, 1.7 million face deportation threats. Another 100,000 are young people who are affected by the DACA program. So 2 parts for you. What are you going to do to be more visible? And what do you say to the folks that think you're just going to be President Obama 2.0? And what are you going to do about immigration right when you get in office?
On day one, I'm going to send a legislative immigration reform bill to Congress to provide a roadmap to citizenship for 11 million undocumented immigrants who contribute so much to this country, including 1.7 million AAPI. My immigration policy is built around keeping families together, modernizing the immigration system by keeping families, unification, and diversity as pillars of our immigration system, which it used to be. Ending Trump's cruel and inhumane policy at the border to rip children from their mother's arms. Take immediate action to protect dreamers, including the more than 100,000 eligible dreamers from East and South Asia. Rescinding the un-American Muslim ban immediately. restoring refugee admission in line with the values and historic leadership of our country, raising the target to a minimum of 125,000 people each.
That's right. Joe Biden did this. And his goal was to help illegal immigrants become U.S. citizens during his 4-year bid. What did that do to the African-American community? It caused outrage in cities like Chicago. This is why a Chicago resident, a former Democrat in Chicago by the name of Kata Truss, said this.
And I'm telling you, we're so angry here in Chicago, which has been a Democratic stronghold for most of its eternity. This year, we're working to turn Chicago red. We are so angry with Pritzker and with President Biden and with our mayor that we have decided that we're going to vote Republican this time around. Wow. That's just how angry we are. We are so angry that we are willing and going to turn our backs on the Democratic Party. I sat in some of those city council meetings and I looked at and I watched the aldermen totally disregard the voices of the people. And when I was going down there, we were coming down every week in the hundreds. And what we said did not matter. And when we were talking about changing Chicago's status as a sanctuary city, and keep in mind, we still have a right to do that. Just like Biden has the right to put forth an executive order to change the crisis at the border, Chicago's mayor has the right to put forth an executive order to change Chicago's sanctuary city. Will he do it? Of course he will not do it. If he was going to do it, it would have been done.
And it's interesting that her last name is Truss, Truss. But people do not trust, Trust, Brandon Johnson. How many times have we heard blacks get up in Chicago city council meetings and say something like this?
Brandon, you have always been on the right side of history. That's why I campaigned for you, and that's why I voted for you. That's why I encouraged others to vote for you, because I knew and I felt in my heart you would be on the right side of history. And that meant including your people, descendants of enslaved Africans. Brother, you got to stop the buses from coming in. You just got to stop the buses coming in because it's hurting your people.
You hear what Black Chicago is saying. Get the migrants out. Get the migrants out. We're begging you, please get the migrants out. And then your former president, Joe Biden, has put you in a precarious position as a mayor so that you can take the fall as the mayor as you lead your city down the path of destruction and more issues. Because Chicago has so many issues like this one.
Brandon Johnson was a lesson for not just myself, but should be a lesson for Black folks. And I say this now, we have a tendency to vote for people because they look like us. We vote for people because they're Democrats. And, traditionally, Black people always support Democrats. And so we kind of go along with that. And one of the things that happened with Brandon Johnson was he was really a lesson to me and probably to other Blacks that we can't just be out here voting for people because they look like us. And we definitely can't be supporting people just because they're Democrats, because Brandon Johnson, as well as President Biden, as well as our Governor Pritzker, are showing us what the Democratic Party really feels about Black people.
So how does Biden even win in Chicago? Only one way I can think of, just the extreme hatred of Donald Trump or Republicans. But to be honest, Brandon Johnson's own political failure is Joe Biden's fault. The same thing happening with Eric Adams in New York City. Eric Adams used to be a Republican, then turned Democrat. New York State is a Democratic state. But guess what? The migrant crisis is not Eric Adams' fault. He didn't cause it. It was a federal mandate. But he's been left out there to dry, leaving Black politicians in precarious positions at best and ruining them with their community forever. This is why Kata Truss said this also.
Can you explain that to the people that may just not know?
Well, let me just say this. I'm just a regular person here from the city of Chicago. I'm not a person that's known. And how I got involved with the migrant crisis is we got a phone call from our alderman letting us know that Amerson Park, which is the park where my children grew up playing football, my husband coached football and baseball at that park. We got a call saying that that park was going to be taken away from the community and used as a migrant shelter. And we immediately got on the phone. We started calling the people in the community. We called all of our elected officials. We called past and former players, coaches, parents. And we, we're like, hey, listen, they're trying to take our park away. We're going to have to rally and pull ourselves together and try to see if we can prevent this from happening.
See, unfortunately, a lot of the people that dislike our community hide behind the fact that they are African American and they have a black wife and they have a black son and they're from the west side of Chicago. But she learned that all skin folk and kinfolk. She doesn't vote anymore based on color or based on race, because the people who pull the strings are not black. They are white, and they have been pulling these strings. And Kamala Harris is another string that shall be pulled. Same thing with Barack Obama. Same thing with whoever else. They don't own the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party owns them. And my question is, when will blacks learn that we need, drum roll please, our own political party? Now, we don't have one right now. At least I don't think that we have one. So that's why I'm saying I'm voting Republican. You can unsubscribe if you like, I don't care. But we need our own political party. Now, of course, this political party will not be strong enough to beat Democrats or Republicans, but it's strong enough to raise money and to be able to get some kind of leverage in the community. That's what we need. We need people to give us leverage because we will have something to offer them or take it away. That's the issue. And if you don't have that, you're always going to be pulled by these strings. It can be either Democratic or it can be Republican. Now, Republican doesn't have a history in the last 50, 60 years of having blacks in the party. That's what I'm saying. But for everyone else, it is clear that these guys are failures. They can't run cities. They're going to continue to destroy black cities. And Kamala Harris's nomination, and if she wins, will only be more destruction for Black America. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. Kamala Harris's husband. Now, this really isn't important politically because everything has to do with the ideology. But we do know one thing. If this person was black as a male, this would never be accepted in Black America. No black man could come in Black America with a white wife and win the black vote. But, and I do believe that Kamala Harris will garner a lot of the black vote simply because she's a sister married to a white man. Now, that's my personal opinion and my personal belief. We know where Kamala Harris stands on reparations. We know it. Black Chicagoans also talk about this when they go to city council meetings. We should not support her because she doesn't want to support us. And then these guys like Brandon Johnson expose themselves. They don't even care about their own black residents. How can they care about the nation? So guys, what do you think? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of Fair Use and Kanganda. I'm out.